Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us and watching. This is Julie Oates with the Results Realty Group at Layer Realty Partners, and I am here today with my friend Kevin Johnson, who is a financial advisor with Edward Jones. And I'm so glad to have Kevin with me today. We've been trying to schedule this for a while, and we finally got it on the books. So thank you for being with me today, Kevin.
My pleasure. I am good. I'm good. Thank you.
So we're going to get to know Kevin a little bit, and you're actually the first one I'm doing with this with Kevin. So I hope I don't take you too much by surprise. But I want to start beginning these interviews with what is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote.
Hopefully a positive or inspirational one.
Yeah, so it's one that I live by and think of frequently. It's simply the harder you work, the more good luck you seem to have.
Wow, that's a new one on me. The harder you work,
the more good luck. Because let's face it seems like a lot of things in business or personal life, you seem to be lucky sometimes, but it seems like the harder I work, the more lucky I am. So.
Definitely. Do you know where that comes from by any chance?
Don't quote me. Might be a Ben Franklin. I'm not
okay,
but I have heard and been told. I do kind of forget, so I apologize.
That's okay. No worries, because we can always look it up. Isn't that what a search engine's for?
Exactly. What we do for search engines.
No problem. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you? Where's your office right now located?
Okay. All right. So yeah, my business office is in Franklin. I've been in the New England area now for 27 years. So I'm not originally from this area, but yes, I'm in Franklin. I live in Midway, where I put 2 kids through the Midway schools. Currently empty nesters, my wife and I.
So you're not from this area, just like me. Where did you grow up? Tell us about you growing up.
Okay, all right. So I grew up in northern Iowa. I grew up on a dairy farm. So I knew pretty early in my life that I was not meant to be a farmer or a dairy farmer, any type of a farmer. I knew I wanted to go to college and get my business degree. So I had the motivation to get that degree. So yeah, so as I graduated from college, my first career path, took me away from Iowa immediately. So I've lived around Iowa or in Iowa for any length of time since end of 1989.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's funny. That's right around the time when I moved out of the Midwest too.
Okay.
I moved away September of 1990.
Okay. Yeah.
Out to New England here. So do you have siblings?
I do. I'm the youngest of 6. So
wow.
We kind of had a braid. Well, it wasn't a second marriage, but we had 6 kids, alternating girl, boy, opposite of the Brady Bunch. They were boy, girl. But yeah, youngest of 6.
You're the youngest. So at what age did you really get sick of hearing that you were the baby?
Yeah, boy, I don't really know that answer, but
I know I'm the youngest too. And
you got me thinking, yes.
I'm like, enough already.
I know. I'm sure I heard that all the way through my high school days, if I remember right. So
what did your parents do for a living?
So as I said, I grew up on a dairy farmer. So my father was the dairy farmer. So so he did that his whole adult life, as far as I know, managed the farm. And he finally got out of it, which was much needed. In 1986 is when my dad got out of dairy farming. If you do recall, or many people may recall, there was a milk and cheese surplus in the mid 80s. I know at least in the Midwest, the government was just giving away a ton of cheese. I don't know where people went to pick it up. All I know, my parents would come home with a lot of cheese, but at the same time, the government was buying out small dairy farmers.
Oh, wow.
So my dad capitalized on, the selling to the government, selling out to the government, just because he needed to. The three boys, none of us were around much to help him with the
Oh,
farm.
wow.
Yeah.
So none of your siblings really worked on the farm too much?
No, they all dabbled in their own farming and whatnot. My other two brothers, the three sisters, no, they want nothing to do with it. No, they dabbled in it, but nobody really wanted to take over the dairy operations. So
And did your mom stay at home or did she
yeah,
work or both?
so then my mother, she started working. I was at a pretty young age, I don't know, 7 or 8 was when she went back to work. But she was always in administrative work. She was a administrator at a retail store. I remember those in my young days, and then a office administrator at a concrete company. That's where she worked her last few decades.
Wow.
But yeah, she went into administrative work.
That's pretty amazing though, staying at the same, people don't do that anymore. They don't, stay at the same workplace for decades anymore.
That is so true. Yep. Nope.
Yeah.
She had 2 jobs that I can remember for those 40 years or so, 40, 50 years. Yeah.
That's amazing. That must be really great relationships that she developed there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That's awesome. So how old were you when you got your first job and what was that?
Well, of course, working on the farm was a job. So I remember.
But did you get paid for that?
Yeah, not really. Roof over.
Yeah,
my
I
head,
figured
food on the
chores.
table, right?
Those are
Yeah.
chores you had to do, right? That was
Yeah,
expected
yeah.
of every, yeah.
My first paid job, boy, Julia, you're really making me think. So after 2 years of college, I first went to a junior college where thought I was going to be the next greatest baseball player, right? So I went to a junior college for 2 years to play baseball and to get my associate's degree. But after 2 years, I decided before I move on to a 4-year university, I was going to sit out and work, earn some money to help pay for the final 2 years at a 4-year university. So I think my third year after high school graduation was my first constant paying job. Yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
Yes, I do. It was a wholesale distributor in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So I did a little bit of everything. I worked in the warehouse, and I also drove delivery trucks on specific routes. So I did a little bit of everything. I was kind of like a gopher. Wherever the boss needed me, he learned that he could rely on me and trust me to get the job done. So yeah, I did a little bit of everything.
That was exactly the word that came to me was gopher.
Yeah, and I truly
Did a
became
little
that
bit
guy.
of it. Yep.
He even got me into doing some ordering, to help him out in the ordering process. So I learned a lot. Definitely.
Nice.
In a little over a year's time that I worked there.
That's really great. Lots of good experience. Not only that, but you developed a rapport. Sounds like you developed a rapport with your boss, and he really learned to lean on you and trust you, which is really great.
Yes. Yeah, he did. You're exactly right.
So from that, how did you end up doing what you're doing now?
Oh yeah, boy. So after that year of work, went back, got my business degree, then finished up 4-year university at the University of Northern Iowa. So I was graduating with my marketing degree, and actually a few weeks before I graduated, I did have my first job lined up, which was with the Maytag Corporation appliances. That's where it all started. So Maytag was an Iowa-based company. They hired quite a few out of Northern Iowa. So I had the interview, and the whole process was done, and the job offer 2 or 3 weeks before my college graduation. So
that's amazing.
Maytag. Then I started moving around the country almost immediately with Maytag.
So, and then you were doing that type of work for quite a while, if I recall, right?
Yeah, I was a wholesaler for the appliance industry. So I was going into retail stores that sold appliances, but I was there representing Maytag, and then down the road, Maytag was bought out by Whirlpool. But I was a manufacturer's wholesale representative for almost 26 years. Yes.
And you got to travel a lot around the country doing that?
I did. Yeah. Throughout that, I lived in the Chicago markets, the Dallas markets, New Hampshire, and then I came down and they wanted me to cover the Boston market. So I got around pretty good in that career.
Did you enjoy that?
The career or the moving?
The moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah. helped me see the country a little bit.
Mhm.
I lived in Dallas for 3 years, which made me realize I like the northern climate, the change of
Ah,
season. 3 years in Dallas was enough. Just summers were extremely hot, and
yeah,
I missed the snow actually. The winter.
yeah, the seasons. I
Yes.
don't think I could. Yeah, I don't think I could live in a place where they don't really have seasons.
Yeah, you don't. I
Nice
didn't
to
know.
visit.
Yeah,
Visiting is nice, but I don't
right,
know that I could live there.
right,
Yeah,
right.
I mean, we for those of you who don't know, we're in Massachusetts. Kevin and I are in Massachusetts, and we're recording this on November 2nd, 2020. And just the other day, on October 30th, we had our first snow season, and it was a lot of people complaining about it, but to me, it was the perfect snow because when you look outside, it just looks so beautiful, so beautiful. But the roads were clear.
Yeah,
So
right.
like the perfect balance to me. If we could have a beautiful winter with no ice on the roads, that would be perfection.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
That would be perfection. Like I like the beauty and the quiet and stillness of the snow, but not driving.
Yep, yep.
Definitely not.
It was nice. I agree.
So okay, we're gonna switch it up a little bit.
Okay.
What are you afraid of?
Oh boy. Quite honestly, what I'm afraid of, and also is my motivator, is failure. I'm afraid to fail. I'm afraid to not bring home that paycheck and support my family, not being able to put the food on the table and roof over the head. So luckily my wife, participates in revenue and income as well, but it still scares me if I was to fail income wise.
Well, I suppose that's a really good motivator, right?
I find it to be absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always been something I've been afraid of for as long as I can remember.
Okay, so taking off of that, would you consider yourself a risk taker?
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely would.
How?
When I made a career change, it
Mhm.
was a huge risk. There was no guarantee of any type. When I decided I'd had enough of the appliance wholesale career, the career change I chose, it was, like I said, a big risk. There was no guarantees. So absolutely, that's just one example. Absolutely.
But you still did it.
I still did it. I made the mental decision. Okay, I'm going to make the change, and I'm just going to give it everything I have.
And my guess is that you're really grateful that you did
I am absolutely best decision I could
it.
have made. Didn't know,
although you don't really have the adventure of moving around the country anymore, right?
but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. What do you do for fun?
You know what? So I would say it's most all my fun's with my wife. Other than I do enjoy my job, but on a personal level, it's with my wife, and we just enjoy going to restaurants and having good food and maybe a couple of good drinks. But we like experiencing new places to sit down and try their food and try a cold beverage if there is any served. So that is truly what we enjoy. From there, as we age, we're beginning to enjoy also the time that you just stay at home and relax. Her and I are probably working more than ever now that we're empty nesters. We're driving kids less. We're no soccer games to go to. So we're working more and we're finding ourselves, certain nights, just sitting home and relaxing, watching a good movie is beginning to get better and better all the time. But we still enjoy getting out for restaurants and good meals.
So that answer begs the question. How are you doing that right now during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, so we are careful. So especially now that fall has moved in and the cases are rising. So over the summer, that was much easier to do because there was so much outdoor seating.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So when things finally opened up where you could start getting out, which was late May, if I remember right. Yeah, we would find the outdoor areas, and it was pretty easy to get out and go to places. Yeah, now it's a good point. Over the past, let's say 30 days, we haven't been out nearly as much.
Yep.
But we try to put some strategy and thought into it. So it's a good question. We try to go to places maybe kind of off hours, odd hours, so we know they won't be as busy. And to be honest, we got select places where if we can get there at the right time, they got tables positioned that are quite a ways from anybody else or anything else. So yeah, it has slowed us down a little bit and we put more thought into it, especially the last 30 days or so.
Yeah, because I think especially this year made a priority, not just for serving clients, but for survival purposes, that they needed to make outdoor seating because I know I don't think I went to a restaurant until August.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then it was outdoors because I just didn't feel comfortable being inside of a building where there was recycled air, you know?
Yeah, right.
So, and I think a lot of people still feel that way. So, yeah, that definitely changes the scene for now as things are getting the temperatures dropping in New England. And it's
Absolutely. Yeah. I think all summer long, I don't think we ever sat inside. I think we were always outside. I can't think
Yep.
of it off the top of my head. Just now, most recently, we started sitting inside
Oh.
strategically.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay. So taking on one of your other answers that you guys like to sit and watch a movie. So now I'm talking about Kevin, not
Okay.
like Kevin and Beth as a couple.
Okay.
Kevin, what is your favorite movie or book?
I'll definitely go down the movie road if you don't mind. I'm not a huge reader, to be honest, but
That's okay.
One that always comes straight to the top of the list, and every time I flip by it, got to stop on it, is Shawshank Redemption.
Ah,
That is one of my favorites.
we love that movie too.
Yeah, there's just something about it.
I was actually just talking about that movie the other day with my kids.
Oh, were you?
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Taking on, what recent happenings. If you heard what happened over the weekend, one of my favorite all-time movies is The Untouchables.
Oh, okay.
With Kevin Costner and Sean Connery, because and it just came right back to mind when I got the notification the other day that Sean Connery had passed on, and that's just The Untouchables is just one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because I had seen it once a long time ago. I would want to watch it again. So.
Oh my goodness, that's how you said with Shawshank. Every time you see it, you feel like you need to watch it. That's how I feel about the.
Yeah, I actually wrote it down. I was gonna put it because that was a little more. We're always searching for good movies, so that's
yeah,
yep.
Really awesome movie. So okay, what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself?
Oh boy. First of all, start the career that I'm currently in. Start that at a much earlier age, first and foremost. Boy, if I did that, I know my overall lifestyle would be different and probably better. I probably could have provided more for my family than I have. So that's definitely one area. Probably another area is be a little more disciplined with my spending and budgeting and just planning, going forward. So those are the two biggies that jump out at me.
Now I'm gonna take a guess in saying that had you started as a financial planner younger, that automatically would have put you in the place where you would have been more disciplined with your spending.
Probably would have been hand in hand, no question. You're probably right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is something I would definitely do over. And another thing comes to mind is I should have let baseball control where I was heading straight out of high school in hindsight. Now that I'm an empty nester, my youngest is off to college. I would definitely single out a college that I would want to go to, that I would follow for the rest of my life. Proud to be, from that school, be part of the alma mater going forward. That's another little bit of a regret that I have and would advise to do different. So like probably a big school with a big athletic program, so I can always follow it for the rest of my life.
That's interesting perspective. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Okay. What is one thing about you that people would be surprised to know?
Oh boy. Um, hmm. Well, that's a good question.
Well, for instance, and you know this about me, one of the things that people are always surprised to know about me is that I was a second generation Wheel of Fortune contestant.
Mm.
Now I know one of the things is that would be a surprise about you is, that you're here, but you grew up on a dairy farm in the Midwest.
I was just thinking, yeah. Yeah, so that part would be a big surprise. When I have told people I grew up on a dairy farm, nobody would ever guess that,
Right.
They would think I'm from New England.
Doing chores on a dairy farm.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that is absolutely one of the answers that comes to mind. Anything else that's a big surprise? I can't think of anything, to be honest.
But at the same time, when someone talks to you, neither you nor I obviously speaks with a Boston accent. So that might be a clue for someone.
Yeah, I'm frequently asked, where am I from?
Yeah.
Frequently people know I'm not from New England.
Absolutely. That's very evident when we talk to you. And that's just because I still can hear just a tiny bit of a Midwest accent in there from you.
You can. Good. Haven't lost it.
I don't know if people can still hear it from me, but but yeah, so we have about 5 minutes left. Just
okay.
I'm watching the time.
Okay.
Have you had an aha moment in your life? And I think that you have. That's why I'm asking this.
Mm-hmm.
And what did your aha moment look like? Because I'm wondering if you had an aha moment sort of between Whirlpool and Edward Jones, or if it was when you were younger doing baseball.
Nailing down the exact aha moment is going to be a little tough, but I think my aha theme, for lack of a better word, is I think I have found my ability to have a good rapport with people, good relationship with people, talking with people. I think that has become a strong suit of mine because growing up, it never would have been. I was probably one of the quietest people ever as far as that goes. So somewhere in there, I had the aha thought, hey, if I just talk and help people, talk to people, it seems to work out for me, So it might even be more in the last 5 years where I realized, that's kind of my calling. Things have been very good for the past 4.5, 5 years. So it's more of an aha, not moment, but more of a grander time frame, I guess.
That's really interesting because I have a similar experience. When I was younger, I was extremely quiet and shy. So it's very interesting that we have that in common.
Yeah, because I would say you're not too quiet now.
No. No.
It just comes with age and maturity. I don't know. So.
Yeah, and at least for me, I think it's come with just, embracing and being okay with who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Whereas, when you're a kid, especially, I went to public school when I was a kid, and I grew up looking different than everyone, to say the least. And normally when you're a kid, you just want to blend in.
Yeah, that is true, isn't it? Yeah.
So I will leave that at that. What does a typical day look like for Kevin Johnson?
Ooh, a lot of talking. Going back to what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of talking. I talk to a lot of people each and every day. But I feel that's why I'm as successful as I am. I make a lot of phone calls and just do a lot of talking, whether it's somebody out in my hallway outside my door, or if I need to call 20 people that day. I do a lot of communicating. That's That is a typical day, giving my thoughts. So, and picking people for their thoughts, picking their brain, of course.
Asking people what they think.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh yeah, I'm the first to ask a question because I want to learn. I'm not exactly sure what better way to learn than to ask questions.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I like to do too, is when you're serving people, how better to know how best to serve them than to find out what they need and what they're looking for.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. So what is your, who, I guess, what or who is your competition, and what differentiates you from your competition?
So from a professional standpoint,
Yes.
I think it goes back to like what we've just been saying.
Mhm.
Building that relationship. I feel like I'm easy to talk to, easy to feel comfortable around because I do hear that quite often. So I do think that's one of the things, easy to talk to and comfortable aspect of being with me. So I feel that makes me different.
And I'm gonna expound on that from personal experience, because my husband and I have had financial advisors in the past who, it's like a one and done thing.
Mm,
You meet with the person, have a conversation, fill out some paperwork, and then you never see the person again.
gotcha.
And I know you are not that type of person. You're not that one and done person. You're the type of person who's going to call and say, "Hey, how's it going? You know,
All right.
do we need to check in? Do we need to tweak things?"
Oh, or just talk.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
just look and see how their health is.
absolutely. Well, I, I know there's been a lot of negativity going on this year with the pandemic and lots of tragedy and everything, but I think a lot of good has come out of it as well. And it's just, there's your obvious way to get in touch with your clients. And that's what I've been doing ever since March. Literally just checking in on people.
Sure.
What are you guys doing? Uh, you know, physically and mentally, because this year's been tough in so many different ways. And it's a really, really great, we just need to call and check on people. And it's not just a business thing. It's a human thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Whether it's
Really,
friends, family, anybody.
I don't even know who said it, but talking about quotes, people don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Hmm.
And it's just, that's it. It's being a caring human being, especially, at least on my end, people I know who live alone.
Oh, yeah.
Checking in on people, and it's a great business tool, but it's really a human thing to do.
Art of humanity. Yep.
Absolutely. So our time is wrapping up, but I just want to ask a couple more things.
Sure.
Is How has COVID changed the way you do business?
Um, Zoom. It's amazing. So much Zoom in our life now, right? So getting on, being on camera, it's basically become second nature, even with family, conversing with family and friends. Send a Zoom link and get caught up. So that's been the number one thing. Less
Yep.
less face to face with people, kind of like going to the restaurants and everything. Same thing, less face to face, but now more electronic. So that's not my first choice. I'll tell you, my first choice is meeting somebody, sitting down and having a cup of coffee over the table.
Definitely. I just had that conversation earlier with someone. I have this hole inside of me because I crave getting together, being in the presence of other people. And as much as I love my family, sometimes we need other people too. But yes, I definitely get that.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say thanks a million for being here with me today and
Sure.
in this conversation. And so whoever is watching, just, you know, reach out to Kevin Johnson at Edward Jones when you need financial advice, because he's a really great guy from the Midwest. And I identify with that because I'm from the Midwest too. So thank you so much for your time, Kevin.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. I
You're
enjoyed
doing this with me. So that's it. And yeah, have a fabulous day. And thank you everybody for watching.
it. Bye.